Neurips 2025 paper discussion. I want to discuss a paper that I'm not even sure if it's going to be in Neurips, but I assume it is because it just was published recently, and I read about this morning. Neurips starts tomorrow. So anyway, that's not important. The paper is called Enact, Evaluating Embodied Cognition with World Modeling of Egocentric Interaction. A bunch of people, Fei-Fei Li's on the roster here, so clearly pretty prominent lineup here. So the reason we want to talk about this paper is actually within a broader context. Neurips this year for us will be focusing on world models, embodied intelligence, and reinforcement learning. So we're going to focus on really on robotics and sort of the AI side of robotics. And I think world modeling is one of our key interests. We just came back from China. We heard the word world model a lot, or the words world model. It seems to be a path forward that people are looking to take to solve the embodied intelligence problem. And I think this paper is really good for several reasons. One, it actually lays out in a pretty good common sense way why embodied intelligence is different than what we have right now with large language models. And it's simply that language is already very structured representation of reality, where we really cut a lot of information out, right? If I can describe to you the Mona Lisa as much as I want, and even if I'm Baudelaire or Goethe, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do well. I mean, it's just you have to see it, right? I can describe to you how to choke somebody in a jiu-jitsu move, but unless you actually do it, you're never going to learn it. So I think we've been there, we've experienced this so many times in our lives, that intelligence, at least this part of intelligence, the sort of us acting in the real world, requires us acting in the real world and learning. Now we can take clues, we can watch videos, we can read, but we have to do it, right? So this is the idea. And what Fei-Fei Li et al. Do in this paper is set a benchmark where the world model does two things. One, it gives you a picture, and then the model is supposed to predict. So it starts with a scene, and it's supposed to predict the following scenes 10, 20, 30 seconds forward. So it's supposed to generate a video sequence of what could happen in this scene. Now, this in itself is already a problem that people have been trying to solve for decades, video gaming and stuff. What of course is very difficult is to do this in a physics consistent way, right? You want to make sure that if you push a bottle from a chair, that it's actually gonna fall down and break. You want to, if you are pushing a door, that door will close. Like, you want to make sure that the physics are taken care of. And then that's the forward model that they're using. And then the backward model, the inverse model, they call it, is when they show you a sequence and you have to predict the actions. So in one, they give you a scene. They give you a scene and they tell you actions. Yeah, right. So I'm sorry. So they give you a scene. The door is open, and then person walks to the door, pushes the door, and closes the door. And then the model has to actually predict that, right? It has to make that scene happen. And then the inverse is, you see a door, a person walks to it and closes the door, and then the model has to inverse predict the actions, which means literally predict the movement of the actuators of the person or the robot, of that thing, the embodied intelligence, whether it's a biological or digital, doesn't actually matter much. What you need is you need the actuators, the muscles, the tendons, or the equivalent in the robot to actually move. So that's the fundamental idea. The paper's in the show notes. I think we here at Orange Capital Partners are interested in this because we think that embodied intelligence, it's an interesting field that we like to invest in. And it's also a field that is relatively new, that has enough clout on the science side that I think there is sort of a nudging now towards technology. And for new listeners, we see ourselves in the sort of the Venn diagram of technology, science, and entrepreneurship. So we like to invest in businesses where science and technology and entrepreneurship combine. What do we mean with that? Well, there's a lot of science in the world, right? There's plenty of stuff in many different fields. Even in AI, there's a lot of science. And then there's the kind of science that can turn into a technology, which is, the Fei-Fei Li ImageNet challenge about 12, 13, 14 years ago, when she started building that data set. That was science, but then it moved into technology when Jeff Hinton and others were able to win the ImageNet competition. And then it started with supervised learning, and that became a technology. And eventually it became an entrepreneurial endeavor where people, in particular, let's say, Elon Musk with his vision-only FSD and others used computer vision, and in the early days supervised learning, and then we went down up that whole trajectory until we got to the fully end-to-end transformer-based models that we have today, which I would say roughly has solved FSD. So my point here is that we are here at a similar trajectory where we have the ability to generate synthetic data through videos, which are physics, that have physics fidelity, so they follow the physics. And in this type of environment, you can train embodied agents at scale because that's what you need. You need the bitter lesson to be applied here as much as you can, because otherwise it's just going to be relatively difficult, if not impossible, to do all the other stuff that people are doing. I mean, it's not useless, of course, to do imitation learning and teleoperation and whatnot. All of these things are fine, but if you could make a leap, like orders and orders of magnitude more data, orders of magnitude more iterations, because what we need, and I'm paraphrasing Sergey Levin here, what we need is counterfactuals. We need lots and lots and lots and lots of counterfactuals. If I do this, then this happens. If I do that, then this happens. If I don't do this, then this doesn't happen. Like, that's how we learn. That's how we learn. That's how humans learn. That's how robots learn. Now, in this paper, they're building a benchmark. So what they're really trying to do here is actually have a system that others now can use for their neural models and test themselves against a benchmark and say, oh, I'm better than the previous model. Because as much as an agent learns from counterfactuals, AI researchers need to learn from counterfactuals too. In other words, they need to say that, okay, well, this model works better than that model. Well, what does that even mean, better? Well, that's the idea of this paper. Thank you.